All right, here's part two, and this is that first section in the text after the introduction, and it's called Government, Politics, and the Economy. And the objective is, after we get through this section, is to be able to assess the role that government plays in our mixed economy. And so it starts off with this term mixed economy right in the objective. First, let's talk a little bit about capitalism and Alexander Hamilton. And as you know from the rap battle from Hamilton, that there was a big discussion about what the economy should look like under the new national government, this new federal government. And Hamilton wanted to have a more powerful role for the federal government in the economy. The creation of a national bank and assuming the debts of all the states under the Constitution, the new Constitution, was really a contentious battle. There were a lot of people, especially from states, southern states, primarily, that had paid off their debt during the Revolutionary War or for the Revolutionary War. They'd paid off all the debt for fighting the revolution for their own state. Other states had a lot of debt, and it was a huge burden on those states economically. Hamilton's idea was to have the federal government take on all of that debt and then pay it off. The states, like Virginia, for example, that had paid off their the bill, basically, for their state already, were opposed to that. And so there was this big battle between Jefferson, a Virginia planter, and Hamilton, who had this big idea of national economic power. And in the end, Hamilton won that battle, and the story is that it was sort of worked out in this sort of dirty deal between Hamilton and Jefferson. But that's really more of a history issue than it is a government issue. It's important, though, to know that Hamilton was the first Secretary of the Treasury, and he really wanted the government to be involved in making the economy work. And one of the real benefits of taking on all of the debt for the national government at the time, in 1788 and 1789, was that it made it a lot easier for other countries to trust in their investment or their support of the United States as a whole, rather than each individual state on its own. And it helped the economy. Even back then, foreign investment was a big factor in American government. And so we can't forget that. We have to remember that even as we talk a little bit later about the amount of foreign investment or how much the U.S. or U.S. companies owe to foreign companies or foreign governments, it's important to remember that from the very beginning of the nation, foreign entities, companies, governments invested in American debt. The debt that the United States government took on in 1789 and 1790 under this plan was going to get covered by somebody, and part of that meant foreign investment in selling those bonds, those government bonds. So it's important to remember that. We have to talk a little bit about capitalism, and I know that you're familiar with the concept of capitalism already. And that's just when it's an economic system, first, that has individuals and corporations owning the means of production, and the purpose is to seek profit. So it's not that the government owns the means of production. Government doesn't own factories. It's individuals or companies that own factories and produce things. And that's the core of American economic system, this idea of capitalism. But it's important to know, too, and remember that the U.S. is a mixed economy, that the government was always involved in the economy in some way. So there's this balance of government involvement and private involvement in the economy to make it work. So we're not totally communist, and we're not socialist, but neither are we as capitalistic as a lot of people believe, that businesses and the entire economy relies heavily on federal government. The other thing that we need to remember is that there are a lot of multinational corporations, and they've been around for a long time, but the process of globalization in the last quarter century has increased pretty dramatically. And all of these companies that we're so familiar with, like Disney and Coca-Cola, Microsoft, Amazon, Walmart, all of those companies are multinational corporations. They may have started here in the United States, or they may have a major investment in the United States and Americans, but they have parts of their businesses all over the world. One of the things that the textbook does, and it's pretty good, I think, is they use Walmart as an example for helping us understand the economy. So they start off with Walmart and explain a little bit about Walmart, and then they use Walmart as an example for, you know, what American economy looks like. And then they go into this this political piece of voters and politicians, and then discuss the important ideas of unemployment and inflation.